I had a great time with pretty much any interview I ever did, really, whether they were famous, and I sure got to interview a lot of famous people over the years. It was truly a fun time and a privilege.
Welcome back to the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs, and our conversation concludes now with Jim Nelson, radio personality on 91.9 KRVM. Now, Jim, over the years, you've gotten to have many interviews with many artists. Tell us about who you had the greatest conversation with.
Well, the easy answer for the favorite was Tom Petty. I got to interview him 5 times, and there were a couple times where I interviewed him in the conference room at his manager's office. And one was for the Full Moon Fever album, and one was for the first Traveling Wilburys album. And we sat at this table in the conference room, the big conference room table, but we kind of pulled chairs up facing each other just a couple of feet away from each other. And Tom had this way of he would want to emphasize something that he was telling me, and he would reach out with the back of his left hand. He would tap the inside of my right knee. Like he'd want to make a point. He would, like if something was funny or something, he would reach out and tap the inside of my knee with the back of his hand. And we talked for an hour for both albums, and I mean, he must have tapped my knee 6 times both times. And he was incredibly funny, just off the top of his head. Real, good, funny stuff would just pop into his head. And he was super friendly, and I'll never forget it. I have no idea how true it was, but it sure made me feel really good. I wanted to interview him for the Wildflowers album for an article that I wanted to write in the Album Network. And so I called up his management office. I had known them for many years, had done a lot of stuff with them, with several of their artists. And I talked with Mary, who worked there, Tony's longtime right-hand person, Mary Klauser. And she said, well, I don't know, Jim, he's not doing many interviews. Let me look into it. We'll see what we can come up with. And I'm like, okay, we got him on the cover of the magazine. I sure hope we get an interview, right? And she calls me back, I don't know, a day or two later, a couple of days, however long. And she says, listen, I talked to Tom, and he says that, even though he's not doing many interviews right now, because it's you, he said he'll do a phoner with you. And I'm like, I don't know if Mary's telling me the truth. I've known Mary for years and years and years, and I have no reason to believe that she's not telling the truth. But either way, it just was a killer to hear that Tom Petty said that to me, right, or about me. So I would, Tom Petty, but I also interviewed Melissa Etheridge a lot of times, and we sort of grew up together in the sense that I was pretty new to Power Cuts and interviewing people when she came on the scene, and I interviewed her a lot of times over the years, and she was my final interview at KCSN. And Mike Peters of The Alarm, first people I ever interviewed was Mike and Dave Sharp of The Alarm back in 1987, and Mike and I are friends to this day. And whenever he was in LA, he would get a hold of me, and I went and watched them rehearse a couple of times where I was the only person in the room. And Mike pulled me up on stage one time to play guitar and sing with him at during an encore of an Alarm show at a Canyon Club in Agoura Hills. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. So these are some of the early interviews and some of the memorable interviews and the people that I remember most. But I mean, I had a great time with pretty much any interview I ever did, really, whether they were famous. And I sure got to interview a lot of famous people over the years. It was truly a fun time and a privilege.
Now, What plans do you have to air some of those interviews on KRVM?
No plans at the moment. All of them were for articles in magazines or for KCSN. So at the time, I don't have any plans at all. I've just started there a couple weeks ago at KRVM. I'm just doing a Thursday evening show. And, Eugene, Oregon is a little off the beaten path. So if I do interviews, it'll be a phone interview for the most part. I suppose occasionally there might be somebody in town whose schedule works out that they could come by the station on a Thursday night or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just sort of getting into the show, and we'll figure out what it's going to be. But I'd love to do some interviews if I can pull off a phoner here and there. That'd be a lot of fun. I guess we'll see where it goes.
Well, definitely. And KCSN's studio was at the campus of Cal State Northridge.
Right.
KRVM Studios, is that also on campus as well?
It's on a campus, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
I'll just leave it at that.
The mystery of KRVM.
Yeah, they're located somewhere in Eugene.
And Jim, this has been great talking with you here. Anything else you'd like to? What was the best piece of advice you've ever gotten as in your career?
Well, the one that seems to come up from time to time, and I was just talking about it recently with somebody at KRVM, is that, when you're doing a live radio show, you're going to make mistakes. Things are going to go wrong. You're going to say something a little differently than you wished you would. And never, ever, ever acknowledge that. Never apologize. Never go back and say, "Oh man, I messed that one up," because most people didn't notice. So you don't really want to draw their attention to the fact that you just, whatever might have happened. So that's probably the thing that I can think of most. And smile when you're talking on the microphone, because people can feel that. They can hear your cheerfulness coming through the microphone. And then the rest was just what I picked up by listening. People will ask me sometimes when they find out I'm a radio DJ, they'll say, what do you sound like on the radio? And I'll look at them and say, exactly like I sound right now. I turn on the microphone and just talk like this. And I learned that just from listening to people like Bob Coburn and Jim Ladd and Mary Turner. These were the sort of the seminal people in my life that I learned from, even if they didn't specifically teach me. I learned, and that would be the other thing I would say.
That's great, and three great legends, wow! I mean, I got to meet two of them. I never got to meet Mary Turner, whose husband was Norm Pattis, who founded Westwood One, and but some great people. And hey, continued success to you, and hope you grow that audience at KRVM. If you want to listen to that station, just go to krvm.org. That's krvm.org. Again, what time is your show on KRVM?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. It's the Thursday free-for-all, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Thursday. And, yes, I'm going to be on live this Thursday, Thanksgiving, because it's so much more fun when you're live than when you're recorded. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to play Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant Massacre, because it's Thanksgiving and that's what one must do. It's going to be a lot of fun listening to that again. And we'll see what else I come up with, because it's all, in the moment.
Interesting you mentioned that, because I was about to ask you that question, because I love listening to that song on Thanksgiving. My dad played it for me when I was about 18 years old, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
Alice just passed away recently, Arlo Guthrie had mentioned. I think she was about, I think 83 years old. But yeah, it was a great tune. And I just, that's like a Thanksgiving staple. And then I love to watch the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving where he cooks has popcorn, jelly beans, pretzels, and then toast with butter. Of course, as a little kid, I thought it was toast with mustard because the butter was so yellow.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I'm going to play Arlo Guthrie at 6 p.m. And in all my days in radio, I've never been the guy who got to play that on Thanksgiving Day. Used to listen to it on KLOS for years on Thanksgiving, but now it's my turn to actually be the one to play it on the air, and I'm really happy to do that.
Yeah, and there's a couple of great, this might break format, but Vince Guaraldi has some compositions from the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving that are really cool. These jazz instrumentals that kind of have that, sound to them that I guess you could play in the background if you're. I don't know if you play music in the background when you're announcing. Some stations do, others don't. But there's some cool stuff
don't.
There.
It's all real natural and just me chatting. But which CD is that from?
Well, Vince Guaraldi had some music from the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. It's some instrumentals that played during the production itself, but. It probably would break format from AAA, but still, it's really some.
Oh, there's no format.
Okay.
No format. It's all free for all. I could play it.
Oh, okay.
I have the Vince Guaraldi CD of from Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the one about from Thanksgiving.
I can email it to you.
See if I can. You have some of the tunes.
Yeah, I can email you a couple of those tunes, and I could do it right after we get off the phone.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool because I am going to play some, I've kind of earmarked a few songs that fit a theme for Thanksgiving. Not overly heavy in that regard, but we'll pepper some songs in that fit. And so, yeah, I could. I haven't heard that before. I've never seen the Thanksgiving show. I've seen the Christmas show many, many, many times in the Great Pumpkin Halloween show, but I haven't seen the Thanksgiving one. So, yeah, send them over. That'd be great. I'll drop in a song or two.
Yeah, I have a season pass to Knott's Berry Farm, and they just kicked off their Christmas, and they've got Snoopy's Night Before Christmas ice skating show at the Walter Knott Theater there. And it's got elements of the Charlie Brown Christmas as well as some other cool features there. And it's really fun to watch. I mean, it's just like, wow. I mean, I can't get enough of that.
No, that's cool. Oh, well, Josh, thank you. This has been a lot of fun rehashing some of these great stories. I've had a wonderful, blessed career in radio, doing so many of the things that I've always loved, and I didn't set out to be a writer or a magazine editor, but I got to do that, and I didn't know I was going to get to meet and interview so many of my favorite musicians. God, you name them, almost every one of them I got to interview. I interviewed Keith Richards one time, and I couldn't understand most of what he was saying because he was just laughing all through all of it.
Wow.
He just was cracking himself up, and it was hard to understand him, and I had to somehow transcribe it and write an article. But it was so much fun because we were just laughing and having a wonderful time. I remember one time John Mellencamp and I, after I turned the tape deck off, I was done with the interview, and I was just saying goodbye and mentioning something about, somehow I connected our kids together. And for the next 20 minutes, here's me and John Mellencamp just being a couple of dads talking proud about their kids. And, this is the kind of stuff that I've had a chance to do. And it blows my mind. It was really a lot of fun. And, maybe we'll do this again sometime, Josh. I'll tell you some more stories.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, I've had a good time.
Yeah, it's been a great time.
Thank you for this.
And we've been talking with Jim Nelson from KRVM. Check the website out at krvm.org. That's krvm.org. Listen on the World Wide Web anytime. Also, if you'd like to contact us, our email is joshdj57@gmail.com. That's joshdj57@gmail.com. And until next time, keep your mind on the things above, and as you hit that open road, don't be a slowdown spectator.